Hey everyone, Schmerold here. Welcome back to Mcubed show about all things fantasy sci-fi. Just a quick announcement. I used to be talking about things in the comic book genre, but Mcubed's about to have a new show on our channel which strictly covers comic books. And all things in that genre, like movies, TV shows, actual comic books. But that's okay. We're still gonna have a lot of fun things to talk about. Like, there's a lot of new stuff on the horizon. And things that currently going on right now. Like, I'm still gonna be talking about Rick and Morty. Still gonna be talking about Star Wars: The Bad Batch. And then on the horizon we have The Witcher Season 2, have the Lord of the Rings Amazon show. Who knows when that'll come out, but it should be cool to talk about whenever it is. The Book of Boba Fett, which I am really excited for. And that's probably my most anticipated show, because I love Boba Fett, I love the underworld stuff of Star Wars. And then again to the news part, there's a new show coming out also from Lucasfilm called Star Wars Visions, which is going to be all about like different stories within the Star Wars universe, and they're going to be made by like, I believe, 9 different studios from Japan. And these episodes are going to be filmed by all these different anime studios, so it should be really cool. So I'm really excited for that. Other news, Zack Snyder is just set to write and direct this new movie called Rebel Moon. That just got announced. He says he's going to take some inspiration from Akira Kurosawa and from Star Wars, so I'm looking really forward to that. Hopefully that comes out soon. That's really it for the news. There wasn't really too much that happened this week. Not a lot of trailers, not a lot of big things. Yeah, let's just get right into the reviews. First things first, we're going to have Rick and Morty. So there's the newest episode of Rick and Morty, episode 3 of season 5. Man, that may be my favorite episode of the show thus far. I can't believe how good it was. Like, it's truly one of the deeper episodes they've ever done. Like, there's something about it. So, like, first things first, let me lay down the groundwork for y'all. So, Rick and Morty are they're like just in their ship, they're about to leave, and then acid rain starts to fall down on them, right? And then we see this like Captain Planet-esque character named Planetina. She's literally just Captain Planet, so it's kind of fun for them to like make that homage. But she's like this girl, and then Morty obviously immediately falls in love with this woman, and he goes on a date with her, and then they both seem to like each other very much. And what I like about this episode is how realistic like the beginning stages of a relationship is. Like, you see them, like, they're completely all about each other, they're texting each other back and forth, they're both like, oh, do they really like me that much, you know? Then they find out that they both are like, they're in for this, so they start a relationship. And then Summer and Rick go, like, so Summer just had, like, her heart broken, and Rick's just like, alright, Morty's ditching me, so they decide to go to these different planets, to go to these doomsday scenarios, which is, kind of like Loki in a way, because there's like the variant Lady Loki likes to go to these doomsday scenarios in the timeline. But they go to these doomsday planets and universes to like party their butts off, you know? Because they're like, screw it, we're single, we're just gonna have some fun, no commitment, because the world ends tomorrow on this planet. So it's cool. But Rick he falls for this one girl named Daphne. She's like this horse alien thing. It was a funny gag that like she has like literally boobs on her elbows, and Summer's just like losing her mind over it. Good sequence. But anyway, the reason I really like this episode is how it captures the relationship, the beginning and the end of one, and the middle. Like, there's the whole honeymoon phase, and then there's like you find the flaws in that person when you look past the honeymoon phase. Then you realize, am I really in love with this person, or am I just infatuated with them? And then, of course, with the whole Summer and Rick thing, we see like how one reacts at the end of a relationship, where like there's a rift in a relationship, where they just do crazy stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, so towards the end of the episode, Morty breaks up with Planetina, who I really liked as a character. But he didn't want to, but she was just kind of crazy. But I really recommend watching this episode. Like, there was something about it that just hit me hard. Like it was really deep, just about the whole idea of relationships. So I highly recommend seeing that. Alright, now Bad Batch. It's a new episode of Bad Batch. Episode 10, I believe. Oh, yes, episode 10 of Bad Batch. It was really good. I mean, like, we've been on like quite a roll with Bad Batch, right? Like, the past like 3 episodes have been killer episodes. This one did seem to fall back into the category of filler, but it was still a solid episode. Like, we see our Bad Batch, like, they go back to Sid for a mission because they're still in debt with Sid, right? So they got to save this senator from this planet, and they are a little bit hesitant about it because it's a separatist senator, and it's the planet's now under Imperial rule. But they go to save him, but before that, Hunter decides to leave Omega behind. because Omega is one of like the most wanted people in this whole universe now, especially if they're going to an Imperial ran planet. They don't want to risk taking her. Specifically Hunter. Hunter is definitely more like the father figure to Omega, and he feels that way too. He just wants to keep her safe, and she's obviously reluctant, but he's just like, you want to be a good soldier, you have to follow these orders. So it's a little bit heartbreaking, but I mean, it's okay. Because then they go save the senator, and they, obviously have to deal with like clones and like they're Imperial troops, but they're not quite stormtroopers yet, obviously. So they're still all clones. And I'm excited to see, probably towards the end of Bad Batch, I guarantee you we're going to see the actual introduction to stormtroopers, like legitimate stormtroopers, which I can't wait to see. And I really hope we see Vader somehow in this show, because I think it could actually live up to that too, because we already saw Tarkin. So I can definitely see Tarkin coming back, and then Vader's there, and they're all like starting to recruit like people to be stormtroopers for their grand army. After we see what the Bad Batch is doing, trying to save the Separatist senator, we go back to Sid and Omega at her, her little hideout, or her bar or whatever, and they're playing Dejarik. And we find out that Omega is incredibly good at that. So Sid's like, all right, screw it, let's make some money. So she gets like a lot of people that, obviously she's kind of shady, and they start betting on Dejarik. And they're like, oh, I'll win, I'll beat this little girl, right? Well, hate to say, Omega whoops them all. Well, then we find out at the end of the episode that Omega made enough money to pay off their debt. So the Bad Batch is no longer in debt with Sid. So who knows if we'll see Sid again for the rest of the show. But possibly, because I think Sid and Omega may have had a better, they have a close relationship now, so I could see them bringing Sid back. So I'm hoping they step it up into gear again. I guarantee we'll have a few more filler episodes, but then it's going to be completely in overdrive, in my opinion. Where, again, I think we'll see some Boba Fett action, more Cad Bane, possibly other bounty hunters like Bossk, Dengar, which I'm excited for. And then, of course, I hope we see Vader and maybe even the Emperor himself in this show. And I think there's a solid chance that towards the end of this series, we see our Bad Batch die. Besides Omega, and maybe a couple of the people in the Bad Batch. But no matter what, I think at least one or two members of the Bad Batch are gone. But we'll see. Alright, that's Bad Batch. So, since there's not any other shows going on right now that fit into the fantasy sci-fi, I decided at the end of each of my shows, I'm going to have a quick little throwback review of some of my favorite movies that fall into this genre. So, for starters, let's start with the mother of them all. Alright, the OG Star Wars: A New Hope. So, Star Wars is one of my favorite things of all time, especially in pop culture. Now, A New Hope, it may not be my favorite one, but it is the movie that started this universe. But ever since the beginning of the movie, where we see Darth Vader board the Tantive 4 and just wipe out all these rebel troops, it's epic. So that's a great introduction to this badass, one of the best villains of all time. Then we meet our beloved Princess Leia, played by the late Carrie Fisher. She meets R2-D2 and C-3PO and sends them to Tatooine to find Obi-Wan Kenobi. There on Tatooine, we find our main hero, Luke Skywalker. And he knows Ben Kenobi. After he runs into R2 and C-3PO, R2 plays this message from Princess Leia that's meant for Obi-Wan. So help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. So Luke then takes these droids to old Ben Kenobi and finds out that it is the Obi-Wan Kenobi in the message. So now Luke, whilst talking with Obi-Wan, goes back home to find that his aunt and uncle are murdered by most likely stormtroopers, but I think it could be Boba Fett, because in Empire Strikes Back we hear Vader say to Boba Fett, "No disintegrations," and so I think it could be Boba Fett who murdered Lars and Beru, or Uncle Owen, Lars and Beru. But anyway, so we then see them go to the Mos Eisley Cantina to start on this grand adventure. And that's where we find one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars, played by the GOAT himself, Harrison Ford, who is playing the Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon, who made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. But then they pay, Han Solo's kind of reluctant about it, but he wants to be paid so he can pay off Jabba the Hutt, so that's why he takes the job. At this point, we don't really know who Jabba the Hutt is, but he's just referred to by name, and we know he's this big shot gangster. So we see them get on the Millennium Falcon, and then they eventually wind up at the Death Star. And there they find Princess Leia, And then that's when we officially have the OG trio meet, and like, I love these characters so much. I grew up on this movie. It's probably the first movie I have ever seen in my life that I can at least remember. That's obviously not like a little kid like movie or TV show, you know. One of the first movies I even remember seeing in theaters is Revenge of the Sith. But anyway, so they're on the Death Star, right? And we have Obi-Wan eventually meet up with Darth Vader, who used to be Obi-Wan's apprentice, who we later find out later on, specifically in Empire Strikes Back, that it is Anakin Skywalker, Luke's father, right? But we'll get to that. I believe next week I'm going to talk about Empire, which is probably my favorite movie of all time, so I can't wait to talk about that with y'all. But anyway, to finish up New Hope. So Obi-Wan dies when fighting Vader, and he just lifts up his lightsaber and he wants to die, because through death he becomes more powerful, which is awesome. Pretty deep movie from George. It's obviously like that fancy sci-fi. It's also like a Western, you know, it's just like a ragtag group like going through the desert, but then eventually goes to space to just go on this quest to save people, right? We then go back to Yavin 4, which is where the Rebel base is hidden, and then we eventually see the Death Star roll up, but they have the plans to destroy the Death Star, which was obviously given to the Rebels by Rogue One, which is an awesome like prequel movie to this movie. I love watching Rogue One and A New Hope back to back. It's awesome. But anyway, so we eventually see them all get in their X-Wings and Y-Wings and whatnot, and they go on to take out this huge, infamous weapon that just can destroy planets, like that destroys Princess Leia's home of Alderaan. And we see Tarkin just laugh about it and doesn't care. Like, he's so menacing in this movie. Like, obviously played by the great Peter Cushing, one of the best actors possibly to ever live. If you haven't seen his old Hammer movies where he's Van Helsing, and then Christopher Lee, who's also in Star Wars as Count Dooku, as literally Count Dracula in those Hammer movies. So I highly recommend that. That's a shout out to my boy Chris, who loves those movies. But we eventually see Luke take out the Death Star. But Vader's on his tail, and he's about to get literally killed. But then Han Solo comes in on the Millennium Falcon and saves the day. And Luke, with the ability of the Force, is able to shoot his torpedo right into the hole that will blow up the entire Death Star, killing possibly thousands. No, definitely killing like possibly hundreds of thousands of people. The stormtroopers are not clones; they are people. but they are evil, or they are with the bad guys, right? But that's the movie. We see the end of the movie with this victory celebration, or this victory ceremony, where they all get these medals from Princess Leia, and that's the end of the movie. And it easily could have been the end, just one singular movie, because that's the beginning, middle, and end. And there doesn't really have to be a sequel outside of knowing that Vader lives, right? So there's obviously still a threat out there, but George Lucas easily could have just been like, I'm done. But he gets to follow up this movie with one of the best sequels and one of the best science fiction movies of all time with Empire Strikes Back, where we are introduced to Yoda and other characters. But tune in next week to check out that review. I can't wait to go into an extreme depth about that. But yeah, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button. Just let me know what you want to hear from me. So leave some comments down below. But yeah, I look forward to getting way more content to talk about with y'all, especially Witcher, which will be coming out real soon, where Geralt is being played by one of my favorite actors working right now in Henry Cavill. But yeah, that should be coming out relatively soon, I would assume. But anyway, so hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll catch y'all next week.